everyone, and welcome to a new edition of your weekday programme here on Nile TV International, The Daily Debate. I'm your host for tonight, Nancy Sarah Barakat, and up for discussion tonight, two main events making headlines here in Egypt and abroad. We'll be starting off tonight's discussion with a look at the strides being made in Egypt's industrial sector and the means and measures taken by the government to boost this vital industry. Today saw President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inaugurate a number of industrial projects in the Delta Governorate of Damietta, including the $1.9 billion expansion project carried out at the Misra Fertilizers production company Mopco factory. Al-Sisi also inaugurated a number of new projects in the 6,500 acres new Damietta city, including a military hospital implemented by the Engineering Authority of the Armed Forces. The day also saw the President inspect the work progress at the Damietta Global Logistics Centre and a furniture city project in the Mediterranean city. Just how important will these projects be in boosting the industrial sector? Is there a particular significance to boosting industry in Damietta specifically? And how can increasing industry have an overall effect on the economy? That's going to be coming up on the first segment of the programme today. Later on in the hour, we'll be reviewing the latest updates surrounding the tragic Egypt Air plane crash that took place on Thursday and claimed the lives of all 66 people on board. Now, search crews are continuing to scour the area where the crash took place for further wreckage, including the plane's black boxes, which could provide vital clues as to why the jetliner went down. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi mentioned today that a submarine has also been included in the search operation. No hard evidence has emerged yet as to why the plane dropped off radar, swerved wildly and then plummeted into the Mediterranean early Thursday morning. Investigators are considering the possibility of a terror attack. However, no militant group has claimed responsibility for the accident. What are the possible scenarios behind the crash? Where are the possibilities of it being a terrorist attack? What could have caused the smoke in the plane? As some reports have said and indicated that, and much more will be coming up on the second segment of tonight's programme. But as always, and before we take our first report, allow me to welcome here in the studio Mr. Ahmed, Reda, monitoring and evaluation expert at the Industrial Modernisation Centre. Thank you very much for coming in tonight. Also joining us is Mr. Ahmed Mahmoud, a policy risk support at the International Modernisation Centre. Thank you very much for coming in. Gentlemen, before tonight's discussion, a look at the first report for the evening and a closer look at President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's activities today, and then we'll be back to start our discussion.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi went ahead with his scheduled visit to Damietta on Sunday, opening extensions to a fertilizer plant and several development projects as the hunt continues for the two black boxes of an Egyptair flight that crashed off the coast of Egypt on Thursday. The official purpose of President al-Sisi's visit was to open additional facilities for fertilizer production, as well as new hospital, a furniture factory, and housing and river transportation projects. However, the President took time to update the public on the latest developments in the operation to salvage wreckage bodies and the two black boxes of the Egyptair flight MS-804, which crashed toward the end of its journey from Paris to Cairo. Speaking at the opening of the new plant's facilities, President al-Sisi said that salvagers responding to the MS-804 crash had been supplied with equipment from the oil industry, including a submarine that can descend to 3,000 meters. He also told listeners that Egypt would remain resilient in the face of challenges and that the nation has benefited from the return of stability. The President added that it was important to consider how the media presents Egypt to the world. President Sisi was joined on his Damietta trip by Petroleum Minister Tariq Al-Mullah, Prime Minister Sharif Ismail and several other officials. The delegation headed first to the plant, which is expected to see an increased output of 20 million tons of fertilizer per year now the new facilities have been completed. Each facility has an estimated capacity of 650,000 tons of fertilizers annually, and the additional capacity is expected to help tackle the shortage of cheap agricultural fertilizer in Egypt. President Sisi then headed to a pavilion near an area allocated for river transportation projects implemented by the Damietta Port Authority. The was scheduled to review work on river transportation as well as visiting several new housing projects in the area. President Sisi was also due to visit the site of the first factory in Damietta's Furniture City, a project taking up 331 fathoms along the international road leading to Port Said Governorate. Digging work for the factory is currently taking place with army engineers in charge of the project. President Sisi is also opening a hospital for the armed forces in New Damietta City. The hospital has 200 beds and can deal with a wide range of medical cases.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. To start off tonight's discussion, I'm being joined over the phone by Mr. Ahmed Abdel Muati, investment expert. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Mr. Ahmed, let me start off by your overall impressions of the expected outcomes of today's projects that were inaugurated today by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Damietta.
It's a very positive project, and it's actually an expansion from 650,000 tons to 1.3 million tons, which is enough to close majority of the gap in the distribution of this particular important product, which is fertilizers.
Right. And how will these, will this particular project have a positive impact, not just on the industrial sector, but on the economy as well?
It's very positive because there are two issues that were inherent in this sector that we experienced over the past 4 to 5 years.
Right.
First of all, we don't have an issue in total production. Total production is 15 million tons annually, and the local consumption is around 9 million tons. Still, there is a gap in local distribution. Around 7.5 million tons are being distributed to local agriculture. So there is a local gap of 1.5 million tons. The reasons of the gap are three. Low production from public sector factories. The second problem is in the distribution, which is controlled 40% by BBDEC, which is the Bank for Agriculture, 20% by agricultural societies, and 40% by the private sector. We need also to improve the distribution cycle for the product itself.
Right.
The third issue is the increase in the price and inavailability of natural gas, which created a cost push to all the companies producing fertilizers.
Okay, and let me just finally ask you, Damietta in particular, when you start opening up industries and perhaps expanding, as we saw, not just this particular project, but there were also other projects today that were looked at by the President. How will that have an effect, not just on the governorate, but as well on, once again, on the total economy?
The total economy experienced certain improvements over the past 2 years. The first phase of improvement was improvement in infrastructure and power. Next, the government plans is a lot of improvement in opening up manufacturing facilities.
Right.
This will increase the GDP and the growth rate, and also will improve the positive impact also on exports for some particular projects. Fertilizers in particular, we export around $1.3 billion, and we estimate this to increase to $2 billion in the coming 2 years.
Right. I thank you very much for your insights, Mr. Ahmed Abdelmouni, investment expert. Thank you for joining us. Now, gentlemen, let me come back to you. Mr. Ahmed, Reda, let me start off with you and perhaps as well start by asking you how you see this particular project and how it will have an effect on the Egyptian economy on the long run.
Thank you, Nancy. I actually want to second what Mr. Ahmed Hamouda said. His Excellency President of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, by actually expanding that petrochemical factory, he did a very important move by actually, instead of just exporting Egypt's natural resources, right, now we're exporting semi-finished products or finished products. So that would actually increase the value added of our natural resources. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it's also very important to mention the capitals and the investments that are taking place in such huge projects and programs. Maybe actually I would want to mention that IMC, the Industrial Modernization Center, mm-hmm, plays a very important role when it comes to the modernization and the upgrading of the Egyptian industry. Right. IMC started in 2002. We served so far over 14,000 beneficiaries, mm-hmm, with a total of a number above 104,000 services, mm-hmm, mainly in business development services and technical assistance. Right. We have an outreach of 19 branches all over 17 governorates, mm-hmm, all over Egypt. Most of them are actually close to industrial zones, where we believe that this is our main target for serving the industry. Mm. What we try to do annually, we have an annual work plan. Mm-hmm. Annually, we have a technical tour that goes all over Egypt, visiting most of the industrial zones all over Egypt. Mm-hmm. The technical team is made up starting with our executive director, engineer Ahmed Taha, followed with sector heads from different industrial sectors and other technical assistants and departments. Especially, we have some cross-cutting solutions and functions. Right. What we try to do is to figure out the constraints that the industrial sector is facing in Egypt. So currently, the constraints we see, actually, one of them was actually addressed through the factory that His Excellency the President opened in Damietta today, right, which is exporting, because we're trying to limit the imports and increase the exports, especially due to the dollar exchange rate and problem right now. Another problem is transforming the informal sector into a formal sector. Mm-hmm. A third problem are the energy issues, which, right, we know we're all facing now all over Egypt. And the fourth one is the percentage of local content in our products. Right. You mentioned changing the informal sector into a formal sector. What exactly do you mean by that, and what does that entail? I would actually love to tell you about each and every one, how we address it. Right. But I'd leave this to my colleague Ahmed Reza to do this. Please go ahead.
As my colleague Ahmed mentioned, we start our process with clear understanding of the critical problem facing the industry in, mm-hmm, Egypt. Not in a specific region, but all over Egypt. From the large manufacturer to the small and to the medium, and all levels and different sectors. This is to be converted then into a clear action plan. Mm-hmm. According to our annual plan 2015-2016, we have main 4 programs. One of them is totally addressing such a point of the informal sector, which is, we name it as a Creative Egypt program. Creative Egypt program is started based on the success that we built over the last 8 years, from the support to the Egyptian small creative industries, mm-hmm, scattered. I mean small by the size of the manufacturers, right, right, in its, yes. However, it's being a very big and huge sector in Egypt. We have been supporting this sector over the last 8 years with different business development services, yet there is still and remain a very a core problem is their access to the markets. Once before we were having and contributed to the Phoenix exhibition, one of the biggest exhibitions mainly conducted by the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Finnish Export Council with the Association of the IMC, and there participation and a specific pavilion for these industries, and they achieved a very good success in their sales and so on.
Right.
Yet once these exhibitions ends, their sales drop down. So there was a need to offer such a continuity to the access to the market, and then we opened our store named as a Creative Egypt. It's located at Omar Effendi Muhandisin store. It's a venue that is all dedicated to the Egyptian small handmade products. And one of our main conditions, besides the business development services and coaching and mentorship that we offer to all small manufacturers and young entrepreneurs working with us in this field, is to start their joining the formal sector. They have to have their registry, their tax being paid. Once they have these conditions fulfilled, they become a supplier to IMC through Creative Egypt. So and this has, sorry, Annie, I would like to add, and this have been fostering the formalization of a lot and a big portion of the informal sector in Egypt over the last, we are approaching our first year of success for such a project.
Fantastic. So how appealing has Creative Egypt been? How appealing has it been to entrepreneurs and to the small industries?
In such a point, I would like to add that over in less than 1 year term, our supplier have been increased by around 200%. From both sectors, from the young entrepreneurs working in specific traditional projects and from the traditional creative clusters scattered all over Egypt. I'm speaking about the tali industry, khayamiya, pottery industries, those working in furniture, oima, what's according as Dumyat, by the way. All these clusters being clustered in the form of association shows their interest to join Creative Egypt. It's due to the success in terms of income generation, job creation, in addition to the protection of the authenticity that an industry already have it, and the traditional and unique that we already inherited in such an industries in Egypt.
And do these products get exported abroad?
Yes, we do have our agenda for accessing international market. During the last year, we participated in specialized international exhibitions. We participated in Bazaar Berlin. We participated in another international exhibition in Milano at Italy. We were having our pavilion in Barceloneta, one of the famous touristic places in Barcelona in Spain. Now, by the way, we are at Index in Dubai. This all with the representation of Creative Egypt with its wide set of products from totally and fully traditional Egyptian industries.
Right, which is fantastic stuff. Mr. Ahmed, Reda, if I come back to you, from your obviously hands-on experience with this particular industry, what do you think are still the main stumbling blocks facing the industrial sector in Egypt?
As I mentioned before, mainly it's we have a problem with the energy efficiency specifically. Exporting and the quality of our products, which we are working on right now. One of our main programs is an expert development program. It has both sides, from actually raising the levels, accessing new markets, giving the Egyptian industry a chance to compete at an international level. Making use of utilizing, actually, if I may use the word utilizing, the number of agreements we have with the countries and especially regional agreements. We developed the exporter, one of the services we actually have, because we know that one of the major constraints is not having a qualified expert manager. So one of the services is developing an expert manager for the companies, specifically in small and medium companies.
When we look at, you mentioned briefly, you were like, that you were working on the quality of products, which is something
Definitely.
obviously a lot of people have a problem with. How exactly are you going about doing that?
Okay, actually, when we visit one of the beneficiaries or the factories, the first thing we do is something we call the company assessment tool. It's an in-house developed tool where we actually have to assess the company at all levels. Then we have something called the maturity level. It's basically 3 different levels. Then we reach something called the graduation, where this company is fit enough to compete at all levels, national and international. One of the major issues we face that we cannot upgrade a company from, let's say, grade A to grade B, or from grade B to grade C, unless their quality has been upgraded and improved. This we do through our experts and bringing other experts on the matter, subject matter experts sometimes even, to upgrade that quality to that certain level where we know it's good enough to access all markets.
Right. Please go ahead.
One of the major points here to add to my colleague is understanding the market and international market requirements.
Right.
Of course, there is a minimum level of quality being required as a local market or as international market. Yet, when we are speaking, for example, about EU, our exports to the USA markets or Japan or whatsoever developed countries, there is always a set of specific requirements where we have to support our manufacturers, especially the small and medium enterprises, to understand such requirements and how to adopt it, being ended up with a product eligible to the export or to the penetrate such a market and manage the competition with all other developing countries in a very successful way.
Right. Well, Mr. Reda, don't you think that this all plays into the whole concept that the President has been reinforcing, if you will, over and over again, of empowering the youth? Because, again, you gentlemen are quite young. We're talking about young entrepreneurs. How is this play? I mean, to what extent, A, is the youth involved, and B, to what extent are they interested, and how has empowering them been a success?
Tackling this point in the IMC is done at 2 levels, from the internal level and the external level. As for the external level, there is a specific program tailored for entrepreneurs, and the objective is to encourage entrepreneurship. What kind of service we deliver? We help them with coaching, with mentorship. Sometimes usually we advise them with legalities. Such a level or such a category is not so much familiar with legal requirements. They do have a problem with getting information, finalizing their paperwork, and so on. Always IMC staff is in their support and help them fulfilling all what kind of requirements they have, in addition to linking them with financial and services offered by banks or by other funding institutions, in addition to entities that are responsible for incubation or providing support and development to such a category. At the internal level, one of the advantages being working at the IMC is a belief of the management in how to empower our staff, mainly the young of them. And we have been we're enjoying a luxury of training and development and a clear career path at the IMC. And I wish having all other governmental bodies having the same scope.
How do you guys feel empowered?
I mean, we're here.
Being there.
Right. Right. Okay.
We're already here.
Okay, well, that's great stuff. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. Mr. Ahmed, the monitoring and evaluation expert at the Industrial Modernization Center. It was a pleasure having you with us. Mr. Ahmed is a policy support unit manager at the Industrial Modernization Center. It was a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, for our second report, we take a look at the latest developments with regards to the Egypt airplane that went down on Thursday with all 66 people on board. And then we'll be back to discuss that. Stay with us.
President Al-Fattah al-Sisi urged the media not to speculate about the cause of an Egypt airplane crash which killed all 66 people on board, and said all scenarios are still being considered. In a speech he gave at the opening of a fertilizer plant, President al-Sisi said the investigation into the cause of the crash could take a long time, but that no one could hide the facts. Meanwhile, the French Bureau of Inquiry and Analysis, the BEA for Civil Aviation Security, confirmed reports that there were smoke alerts on board the Egypt Air flight MS-804 shortly before the plane plunged into the Mediterranean. A BEA spokesman said that messages from the aircraft communications addressing and reporting system, the ACARS, indicated that there was cabin smoke before the Egypt Air Airbus crashed into the Mediterranean. But he warned that it was too early to interpret the data. French Foreign Minister also said that it was too early to reach any conclusions on the cause of the crash. The BEA confirmation followed the report on the website, the Aviation Herald, that the ACARS showed smoke alerts in the toilet and the aircraft's electrics before the plane crashed. Reports of the smoke alerts came as search teams continued to scour the area in the Mediterranean where Egypt Air flight is believed to have crashed early Thursday. Debris from the plane, including human remains, wreckage and personal belongings of the passengers, had been found around 190 miles north the governorate of Alexandria. However, the plane's flight data and cockpit voice recorders, also known as the black box, have not yet been retrieved. While the flight data and cockpit voice recorders provide the best clues to the cause of the crash, the ACARS is merely a data link for sending messages between planes and ground facilities. Experts have warned that the ACARS information has not been verified as yet, and that the system merely transmits short condition updates. Egypt Air flight was flying from Paris to Cairo when it disappeared early Thursday over the sea. The 66 passengers and crew on board the Airbus A320 included 30 Egyptians, 15 French, 2 Iraqis and 1 passenger, each from United Kingdom, Belgium, Chad, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Portugal, Algeria, Canada and Kuwait. Following the incident, Pope Francis extended his prayers and condolences to those afflicted by the crash of Egypt Air flight MS-804. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and US Secretary of State also expressed their deep sadness about the crash of Egypt Air's flight MS-804.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and to tell us more, we have with us here in the studio Captain Hassan Kamel, air security expert. Thank you very much for coming in tonight.
Yes.
Let me start off by asking you, obviously, about, first of all, how you evaluate the overall situation.
Mm-hmm. If we are going to analyze what happens exactly, we are not going to develop a scenario.
Right.
We should differentiate first between facts and evidence. Facts is very important now to start with, not to start with evidence. Let us say what's meant exactly by facts. If we are going to analyze the situation, we have two things. We have an airport and aircraft. And we have an airport security program, and we have an aircraft security program. What happens exactly for the airport security program, I think it's not our concern now. The second one is what happens for the aircraft security program. That's on our aircraft, our Egypt Air company. See, it is not a mere company, it's an association.
Right.
And it has many international certifications safety certifications. Let us to start with what happens exactly before the aircraft departing a specific aerodrome. Should be 19 documents at least on board aircraft before permitting it to depart from this airport. If anything or any doubts about any concerning documents related safety, will not be permitted to depart or for takeoff from that specific airport.
Right.
That's investigated according to the international or European standards adopted by European Agency for Aviation Safety, EASA. You see, and also it has a random program which are going to inspect the aircraft. This program is called SAFA program. It's random check for any aircraft at any time which uses any European aerodrome.
Right.
That's very important. So the aircraft is permitted for takeoff. So all documentation is okay.
Okay.
That is the first. Let us go now. The aircraft now in the air. What could happen then if we are going to develop any scenario? Egypt Air has many certifications from the concerned international organization. Let us start with IATA. IATA is the International Association for Air Carriers. IATA. Egypt Air had 2 certificates. The first one is IOSA. This is a complicated certificate, you see, issued by IATA for Egypt Air,
Right.
which fulfill 5 international objectives, which were going safety, security, quality, and environments. So it has been gained by certified, Egypt is certified for IASA. Also, the ground services stations is also certified, you see,
Right.
by another international certificate or IATA certificate, which is called ISAGO.
Right.
So that's not enough. So we're going to go for different. We have an EASA now, as we said, is the European Agency for Aviation Safety, which has the authority to certificate any European air carrier.
Right.
You see,
Well,
also
allow
going to
me just to
certificate
quickly
all
interrupt you
different
because
subjects.
I've got over the phone Captain Galel Barakat to tell us also his interpretations. Thank you very much, Captain Galel, for joining us.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Let me start off by asking you, obviously, of your overall opinion of what possibly could have happened to the ill-fated flight.
Actually, what's happened to the flight is too early to decide what's happened to the flight. Especially investigation has taken place, and this investigation will be go through the Egyptian Civil Aviation, the Airbus manufacturer.
Right.
They will decide what actually happened to the aircraft, and I can say the Egyptian Civil Aviation community in here, in one word, they are very much capable to know and decide what's happened to the aircraft. This is number one. The other thing I would like to speak about is as the gentleman in the studio was talking about, Egypt Air Maintenance. Egypt Air Maintenance, it has certificates from the manufacturers, from the Egyptian Civil Aviation, local civil aviation here, the international authorities like EASA, which is stating this, the Egypt Air Maintenance in the area, one of the best in the area, one of the oldest, one of the best. I do remember like 5 or 6 years ago, European airlines, they used to do their maintenance, aircraft maintenance in Egypt, in here. And overhaul maintenance we're doing it here in Egypt. So Egypt Air Maintenance is the best on the area. Egypt Air Maintenance Training Center is educating most of the maintenance staff for the different airlines on the area. So the aircraft, I can assure the aircraft maintenance was updated, was very much fit to fly, and the aircraft was signed off correctly right before departing the Charlie de Gaulle.
Right. Now we're looking at the search operation so far. I understand that there's a time limit before, after which the black boxes will no longer be of any use to us. Am I correct?
You're absolutely right. We might having difficulty now to find the black box, which will give us a better information and more information to know what happened the last time the aircraft was flying, last period of the flight. The black box, as far as I know, did not been found yet. they will having difficulty because today is the third day the black box might start stopping sending signals to be picking up. So it could be difficult. I won't say it's impossible, but I would say kind of difficult to find the black box. The black box is very important in this case because the information we have is very much less, which we expect to know what's happened to the flight in the last period of time the aircraft was on the air.
Today, the president said that a submarine had been sent to search for the black boxes. How would this perhaps change the dynamics of the search operation, do you think?
For us as civilians, today, as I said, today is the third day. It could be kind of difficulty to locate, try and locate the black box. I'm quite sure the military, they should have better equipment and more accurate equipment to locate the black box. I'm quite sure they will find it. Because the equipment they have on the military, we don't have it in civil aviation. So they might have. I'm quite sure they will find the black box in very short time.
My last question to you, Captain Galel. How did you see the foreign media's coverage of the accident? With perhaps, if I point out CNN, they actually hinted that the pilot could have committed suicide.
Well, I would say this is very famous exercise. We all the time we're hearing about pilot committed suicide. But the big question is, this pilot been flying the aircraft from Cairo to Charles de Gaulle, spending like 5 hours going and another 3.5 hours back. Why did he commit suicide 1 hour before he landed?
Right.
That's number one. The other thing is back to the history, like the Morocco flight was crashed in Morocco like 10 years ago. Flight 800 from New York to Cairo, Captain Battuti, Allah yarhamu. And all of this accident being pointing out immediately the pilot has been suicide. But the big question is, a man was having party for his colleagues 1 week ago in his home, and everybody was saying that he was very happy, was very pleasure in meeting his colleagues in his home. The co-pilot was his engagement next week. Why those guys committing suicide? Why do they do this? This number one. The Greece authorities, they declared that the aircraft was turning 90 degrees to the right, then 360 degrees to the left. This does not come with the pilot committing suicide.
Right. I thank you very much for those clarifications. Pilot Captain Galel Barakat, thank you very much for your insights. Captain Hassan, if I come back to you and take a closer look once again, perhaps at the search for the black boxes. How much time do we have left to find them, and how do you rate the overall search operation?
If you excuse me, we would like to continue by the same, because we are going now to build a scenario what happens exactly, you see, or we have an approach to identify what's going exactly, you see. And we cannot predict until we can find the 2 black boxes, you see. And that's what we are going to recommend yesterday, you see, for France and for Egypt. And Mr. President today sent an order to send a submarine. It's very important. And we would like to see that there is now, I think, what happens exactly with search and rescue. It was in a rapid response in less than 15 minutes. You see, on our units here in aircraft for search and rescue has been done within 15 minutes from the time that the aircraft disappeared. The aircraft disappeared 0029, 0044 research and rescue units were there searching for the missing aircraft in an area with 1,600 kilometers squares. Right. That's very difficult, and they found the traces within 48 minutes. And that's a new for Egyptian search and rescue history. See, that's exactly something we are happy with. Let us go further with the Egypt Air to know what is in Egypt Air. It is not an company, it's an association, and it has a safety registers. You see, Egypt Air is approved by FAA and was or many successful safety universal oversight audits done by ICAO, a major terrorist partner with Flight Safety Foundation. So the aircraft is safe, is more safe. We are not going to take that, but our the certificates, which is provided or certified by the International Organization for Safety, it's saying that, not saying that. Now the aircraft in flight. The aircraft on flight level 370 is the most and is the safest piece of the flight. Cannot expect anything. Second, our aircraft, Airbus 320, has 5 protection units. If you are going to force the aircraft to go down, you will not succeed.
Right.
Even you do that. The 5 protection units prevent this evasive action if it happens. So this scenario, we cannot going to support it. Another scenario, what about the failures on the aircraft? The aircraft has a smart system called Airman. This inspects each inch in the aircraft, you see, from the point of departure until destinations. Each time, sending this information to be displayed for the pilot. So if any failures happen on the aircraft, it will be displayed on the pilot. Not even that, the system can predict and tell the pilot what to do with that. And the smart system can resolve many problems, as I said with the smoke. There is no fire, there is smoke. But the system can resolve this problem at once.
Right.
So we cannot accept or support another this scenario. The aircraft, as we said, flying in the safest flight phase and in the unidirectional routes, there is no object traffic. The weather is fine, no density of the aircraft. So exactly what happens. The aircraft now is going down from flight level 370 with evasive action 900 degrees to the left, then 360 degrees. That's giving you an evidence that there is no control, either manual or failure. There is no pilot or autopilot. So something wrong is going suddenly, you see, at this time.
Right.
Exactly, there is a problem here with the United States, or if United States of America, I think, and Russia. You know that there are many satellites in the place. This sat with accuracy is 30 centimeters.
Right.
Can tell you exactly what happens this time. Silence. No one thing can say. Let us to stand by until find the 2 black boxes. So why you didn't send the submarine or a ship from France like we did with the France disaster, which departed Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in 2009, and sink in the Atlantic Oceans. And you have take about 2 years until find the black boxes. You know the problem with the black boxes is transmit a message or the signals for 30 days. After 30 days, no signals.
Right.
And the aircraft now is going down in the most deepest point in the Mediterranean Sea. You see, at 3,000 meters, 3 kilometers. So each day it will make 2 problems. That's what we are going to claim by that yesterday, and I think now our president sends the submarine, France, and within 1 hour, and a French ship will reach for the accidents locations after 1 hour from now, and to start now to have a serious research. We'd like to know how, what's going on. All what we are waiting for the black boxes. I think we spent 2 days. We lost 2 days for that. That was to be done from the beginning. You see, from the first time. From the first time, you should have to do that. And that's what I'm telling France to do. We are not going to talk what's going exactly until we find the 2 black boxes. But if we are talking, and which time I would like to talk about the evidence, if you have a scenario. If you could build a scenario, we are going there. But now we are talking about effects.
Right.
And have the safest company, we have the safest associations, And we take this opportunity to tell the Western media when they're going to analyze. I think they should invite incredible people.
Right. So how did you see
Yes,
the
that's very
international
bad,
coverage?
because CNN and the pilot and he said that the evasive action due to an opposite aircraft. He didn't know that's a unidirectional route. There is no opposite aircraft. And if we could say that's maybe happen. You see, okay, if we have an opposite aircraft, we have a system of the aircraft which prevent an accident called a CAS.
Right.
You see, which are going to separate the aircraft vertically from each side. So this scenario, but if they invite a pilot to say that that's for the professional people, it is unacceptable. But
right.
for not professional people, it is misleading. You see, and I find that illegal.
There were two reports that I want you to quickly comment on. First, there were reports that there was an oil slick that was found in the Mediterranean, and then there was other reports saying that there was smoke in the cabin. What would have caused the oil slick and what would have caused the fire?
Yes.
Or the smoke?
You see, the two black boxes, one for the data and one for the voice. The aircraft is sending a message, automatic message from the onboard, which can tell you what's going on, but we need to confirm this information. The confirmation information of this information will be done after we found these two boxes. We cannot, you see, that's very, very important. That's very intelligent question, because what happened with the Russian flights, which when the disaster of the Russian flights, which departed Sharm el-Sheikh, the aircraft wreckage found in a wide area, but on land. The problem here that our wreckage is in the sea.
Right.
Many evidence can be disappeared.
Right.
You see, many evidence, like traces of some chemicals or something like that, if we can go to support this. So that's very important. We cannot reconstruct, you see, the wreckage to know what's going on. So we cannot, no one from the profession can say something until found the data and analyze the data. This is the last hope.
Right.
And that's what we're going exactly, and that's done today. I think we have some delay for 2 or 3 days, but it's still, I think, hope. We found those.
The black boxes.
I'd like to pay attention for our media, that how to talk to the other,
Right.
how to talk to the foreign people. That's very important. We would like to fight in order to clarify what's going exactly based on facts, not based on evidence, I can say to you.
Right.
Because now this is a certification or safety certifications, you see, is done by international organization, not by an Egyptian organization.
Right.
That's a big difference. That's aircraft is manufactured by Airbus industry. The smart system is developed by Airbus, especially for that aircraft. So we are, that's an open book.
Right.
That's an open. So if you would like to go to the facts, I think it's more be effective.
Well,
and
Captain
I'd like to tell all the Western media to slow down and to invite the professional peoples and to know that Egypt is a state.
Right.
Egypt Air is an association.
Right.
It's very important to know that.
Differentiate between the two, and I thank you very much for your insights. Perhaps when we have more information, we'll be talking again about what could have happened. I thank you very much, Captain Hassan Kamel, air security expert, for your time and your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. Thanks very much for watching, and goodbye. Thank you very much. Merci.